talk about death. At your age, you're thinking about everything in front of you. You're thinking about things you got to do in life. Your dreams of life, who you want to marry, who you don't, what do you want to do, what kind of employment you want. Those things are fine and well. You're supposed to think about those things. But you know what the Bible tells us? The Bible says we're not guaranteed tomorrow. You might not do anything wrong, but walk across the street and then bang, get hit by a drunk driver. You might not do anything but be with a friend at a party and someone drives by and fires off a few shots and you get hit. You might not be doing anything, but you're at a theme park and something goes bad with a ride and you plummet to your death. These are all realistic things, right? We've heard of these things happening. And yet, in our lives, we think it won't happen to us. When you get your license to drive a motor vehicle, and you go down the road, and you're driving perfectly, you have no control of the other person who could be driving under the influence, who could be texting on their phone while driving and are very distracted. Drop their phone, they go to pick it up and swerve in your lane, head-on collision, you get killed. Right? You don't have no control of that, but that could happen. I want to talk to you about eternity, because in my Christian world, nothing defeated death other than Christ. And I want you to answer the question in your hearts, in your minds, without saying it out loud. Is what do you think happens when you die? Do you think when you die that's all there is? Think about that for a minute. Does your life end in death? Is that all there is? Maybe you're one of those people that are under the impression of what I call stinking thinking, and maybe you're thinking, well, I'm good enough. I think I can get somewhere good if I'm good enough. If I've done enough good for people, I never treat anybody wrong. I've done enough good for people. I should get to a good place. But you don't know what that good place is. You have no knowledge of it. And this man called Jesus Christ, you don't know much about him or enough about him to even have faith in him. So, yeah, maybe you conclude in your mind that you don't know where you go when you die, but it's got to be a good place because you're a good person. And I want you to know that ain't true. I want you to know that Jesus Christ is the only way to get to heaven. It is not going to heaven because you're a good person. And I think if you look at the message of the Bible as a whole, I thought, what can I talk to the teens about? What is the most important thing? Well, when I was your age, I thought I had all the time in the world. And you know what? The reality of it is, I don't. Because nobody in your situation right now, you cannot guarantee me tomorrow. You cannot tell me that I'll be here 3 hours from now on this earth, living and breathing. Because something may happen. Now, I don't expect us to walk around thinking we're going to die all the time. But the idea is we shouldn't be walking around like we're going to live forever. Because we're not. Death, whether it takes you by natural means or unnatural means, is going to come by your door. Someday will come by your door. And I hope by the end of the 3 days that I have with you, I hope by the end of it, you'll understand that if you were to die today, you know for certain where you'll be. Because my job is to help you understand how much God loves each and every one of you. It is not because of how tall you are or what your gender is. It's because He loves you, flat out loves you. And that's the whole message of the gospel, the message of Jesus Christ. It's not wishful thinking. It's not that we sit there, well, I hope I'll go to heaven. It's you're sitting there, you know you're going to go to heaven because what Christ did on the cross was complete. You wasn't there 2,000 years ago. I wasn't either. But you know what it takes? It takes this thing called faith. Can you tell me, without saying it out loud, can you tell me what faith is? Can you put a definition behind faith? What is faith? When your loved one's sitting in the hospital bed going through treatment or going through a procedure, or maybe they're on the operating table and you're praying, right? And you want your loved one to get well and healed and make it through the surgery good. That's faith. You're enacting your faith. You're desiring a certain outcome. And you're putting your time and your effort into it to pray that everything goes well. You might not even know God as your personal Savior, but you pray. You know what that does? That's God's natural alarm in you, that when stuff is going wrong, you pray. What if someone came up to you and told you that something was true? You know, in the court of law, we have what they call what? Witnesses, right? You take an oath before a judge or a magistrate judge and before a group of people, and you say, what do they say when they take an oath? Does anybody know? Promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. And they put their hand on the Bible. Sometimes the Bible's not even used anymore. There have been over 500 witnesses that Jesus Christ came back from the dead. Resurrected from the grave. Every Easter we talk about this. And just because you're not in church at Easter time doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Just because you don't believe that Jesus Christ rose again from the dead doesn't mean it didn't happen. There have been over 500 plus witnesses to this account. Historically, the Bible is the most historic document ever written. And the problem is, we don't hear enough about the evidence that the Bible is true and accurate. What we hear is, it's just a religion, we'll pass it off. But there is no other religion under the sun in which a Savior came and saved the world. None. None gave their life. No other religion gave, there was a Savior in that religion that came and loved you so much and died upon the cross for you. These witnesses to Jesus Christ, we have to understand something. They were willing to give their life for telling people this good news. That means something. In the court of law, if you get up on the stand and you what they call perjure yourself, that's against the law. You can be arrested for that and so forth. So this is not just 500 people just didn't get together and start lying about something. They gave their life. When someone gives their life to something real happened inside. They seen something that impacted their life. And so they devoted their life to the life of Christ. So it wasn't an idea, it wasn't a theology, it wasn't a philosophy, it was a reality. And sometimes we don't do a very good job. And if I ask you a question, what's your hope for life after the grave? What is your hope for life after you die? We might not know. That might be our answer. We might say, well, I don't know. I don't know. Ephesians 1:7 says, in Him we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace. I want you to hold on to that word called grace and that redemption. Don't get too wrapped up in the redemption part, but it is very important. It just redeems you. You take something like an antique car and you redeem it back to its former glory. You restore it back to what it looked like coming off the car shed floor. When God redeemed you, He brought you back and made you clean with a thing called grace. Grace is something that you don't deserve. Grace is a gift of God. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8 says, for it is by grace we've been saved through faith. Now these two words are very important. Grace and faith. Grace and faith. Say grace. Grace. Say faith. Faith. Grace and faith are very important. You cannot do one without the other. You understand that? You can't just walk in grace, you got to walk in faith. Because other places in the Bible says without it, it's impossible to please God. You have to have faith. All right? You have to have faith. And grace is something that covers us when we don't deserve it. I mean, we all have bad days. We all probably done something this week already that wouldn't be part of God's nature for us to do. Said something wrong crossways, done something wrong crossways. You know, because one day we'll die. One day we will die. And the Bible says, apart from faith in Christ, we'll all be condemned to hell. And it's not a place that God wants us to go. Listen to me. Hear me when I say this, because sometimes people get caught up in this. God does not want to send anybody to hell. That's what the Bible says. His desire is that everyone would come to know Him as Lord. But you know what God is? He's a gentleman. He doesn't force you to come love Him no more than you would force your boyfriend or girlfriend to love you. God don't want you to love Him out of compulsion or forcefulness. God wants you to love Him willingly. So, because of that, you've got a decision to make. In one hand, you've got to say, by faith, I'm going to step out and I'm going to have a relationship with God. Or, by faith, a different kind of faith, I'm going to step out and just live life my own way according to the world. You've got a decision to make. Before you walk out of those doors, I would ask you and challenge you to make that decision. Because I might not see you tomorrow. Yeah, sure, you might not come back for day 2. But more importantly, you might not be around. You might not be around. Jesus Christ made a way for me as a sinner, and He made a way for you as a sinner. The problem is, we want a feel-good message. Tell me what I want to hear, not tell me what I need to hear. God says there's a right way, and that right way is narrow. And it's hard to walk that way. And then there's another way, and it's wide, and it's very easy to go down that way. And it's tempting to be so distracted by a bunch of little things in life that take our attention. And it's easy to go with the flow. It's hard to go against the flow. Where no one, it seems like very few people are going that way. But you know what? God loved us so much that He sent His one and only Son for us. And Christ came to this earth in the same form that you and I did, born by Virgin Mary. And He was tempted in every way that you and I are tempted. And He still beat temptation. I think you guys are stronger than what you think. For one, you're the future of the church. And the devil don't like that. So he'll try to get each and every one of you out of the way. How can he do that? Well, he does it through faith suckers. Look at 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. Where he says, in the time of my favor I heard you, and in the day of salvation I helped you. I tell you now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. Our God is the God of a here and now. He wants you to make a decision for Him. And in making that decision, He wants you to live a life that is devoted to Him. And I'm not talking about throwing on a monk robe and going to some monastery and abolishing everything in your life and throwing everything out the window. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a grace-filled, God-focused walk. That's it. Just to do your best and forget the rest. Just to do your best. Pick up the Bible and read it. Go to church and try to give God a fair shot. That's, if anything tonight, you give God a fair shot. And I guarantee He'll meet you where you're at. He'll meet you where you're at. Now these things called faith suckers, these things that the devil puts in our way, sometimes they're innocent. Sometimes they're not too bad at all. There's nothing wrong with them. They just take our time. They take our faith. And faith suckers are anything that robs us of the things that we have hope in. Let me give you an example. Some people have hope in love. of the opposite sex, of the gender. You know, my boyfriend, oh, I'm gonna love him, and we're gonna have this thing together, and we're gonna do great together, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have kids, we're gonna have this white picket fist dream and stuff like that. All your faith is in that relationship, right? God's on the back burner, your relationship is right here. And you spend your time, your effort, your money, and all of a sudden he leaves you. He had an affair, or he's cheating on you, and you find out, you guys break up, there goes your faith. Hear me? That's a faith sucker. Because you put your faith in the wrong thing. What else is a faith sucker? If you think you can find happiness and hope in alcohol, going to drinking parties, and laughing it up, and throwing it up, and playing beer pong, and all those things that they do in college, and do all those things, you think that will get you something in life. You're wrong. Let me tell you about another faith sucker. I see it every day. And you got to hear me on this one, because this one will rob your life forever, along with alcohol, drugs, opioids. You can talk great about marijuana all you want to. And you can hear about it on social media. You can watch it on your TV sitcom shows, whatever. You can watch all the desensitization that they're throwing at you to go ahead and make you approving of marijuana. It is a gateway. I live it every day. I go out there every day and I see people every day with it. And you know what? Marijuana is not the only thing I find on. I find pills. I find meth. I find heroin. Syrup. I find all kinds of narcotics beyond the marijuana. But marijuana is where it started with this. Now, live a life of opioid use. It'll rob you of your family. It'll rob you of your money. It'll rob you of your love. It'll rob you of every resource you ever got. It'll drain you of your life. And then you OD. Then you'll be found in the ditch if they don't Narcan you first. For the fourth time. That's a faith sucker. Why? Because somehow, at the beginning of it all, we thought that maybe if I just done this a little bit with my boyfriend or my girlfriend or with this group of people, I want them to like me. I want to put my faith in that. Anytime you put your faith into something that you're hoping to get something in return, you're putting your faith in that. And the devil wants you to do that. And you know what? That faith belongs to God. But it's a faith sucker. And to prove it to you, I'm going to have Alexa Shine up here to tell you her story from her mouth. She lived it. She got pictures to prove it, and she's going to tell you all about it. And listen, ask questions at the end. Ask questions.
Okay, hi, my name's Alexis. My daughter, Raina. So I'm going to tell you guys my story through addiction and recovery. I am from Morgantown. I grew up in Sheet Lake. I went to UHS. I have a really good family. They, always loved and supported me. I played sports. I started drinking when I was around 9 years old, and then moved on to pills such as Xanax and things like that when I was about 13. Softball was a huge part of my life. I was really, really good, and my dad coached 3 of my teams, and I played year-round. School was never really my thing. I just didn't like it. I didn't like to go. I don't know, I didn't try, and I would much rather, go to the parties and do all of that because I thought I was cool, going to parties and drinking all weekend and, coming back to school, hungover, and, I was basically the Hot Mess Express, and I thought it was cool. So whenever I was 16, I got hurt and I tore my rotator cuff and all the ligaments in my shoulder, and I had to have surgery. And after my surgery, they prescribed me Oxycontin. And immediately after that, I got addicted to it. It's like I just had to have it. And it got really bad a few months later when I found out that I couldn't play softball anymore. So that basically ended my dad's relationship, because that's really all we had together. So I just completely threw myself full force into my addiction. I had so much hate for myself, I couldn't even look in the mirror. You know, if there was something reckless, I was going to do it, because deep down, I truly believe that I did want to die. I didn't think I would make it to see past 20. You know, I was just doing really bad things. Anybody close to me, I would, you know, hurt them, whether it was steal from them, lie to them. You know, I did literally whatever I had to do to get my pills. You know, that's the only thing that mattered. My family didn't matter, my friends didn't matter, and I lost everything along the way. After I graduated high school, I went to my first inpatient facility in Philadelphia, and I stayed there for a few weeks, but I wasn't really ready to get better. I didn't want to really put forth a lot of effort. I went mostly because, you know, my parents were like, you're going to go, or we're completely done with you. So I went, and I came back, you know, I came back early. I only stayed for a few weeks, and then I got introduced to heroin, and I thought my life was basically, you know, a rock bottom then, but once I was introduced to heroin, that's really when it got beyond terrible. You know, I did a lot of things that still to this day, you know, haunt me and are just, you know, I wish more than anything I could go back and, you know, change what happened. I completely destroyed my parents. You know, and at the end of the day, that's who always loved me, was there for me. I had just completely given up on absolutely everything. So one day I just woke up and I just got tired of, you know, wondering, is today the day I'm going to die? Is today the day I'm going to go to jail? You know, I just couldn't do it anymore. It was physically and mentally exhausting. And what led me to that point, I think, was my best friend since elementary school. We were like sisters. We were using drugs together, and we were at her apartment, and I was so high. I don't know if I overdosed or what happened, but I completely blacked out, and I woke up in my own vomit on her floor, and she was nowhere to be found. So I think waking up, realizing I could have choked on my vomit, and I could have died, and she was gone. And, you know, that was supposed to be my, you know, I mean, we were like family for so many years. So that made me realize, you know, what was happening to me and the people that I loved. So I told my parents, you know, I'm ready. I don't want to live like this anymore. You know, I really want to change. So I went to Florida. They got me on a flight within a day or two, and I went to Florida, and I was there for a little over a month, and I really, truly worked on myself. I, you know, brought up everything that I was trying to take away the pain. I had so much pain, and I was trying to, you know, mask it all, and it just wasn't working. So I really got to the bottom of my pain, and me and my parents, you know, we worked through it, and I really, you know, they say to find your higher power, be, you know, whatever that is. Some people it's God, you know, some people it's other I really found my higher power, and whenever I was coming back to Morgantown, I'll never forget, I just prayed and prayed, every day, please keep me clean. I don't want to die. I don't want to, live like this anymore. And Morgantown is a very scary place to come back to if you're newly in recovery. And, I did a lot of work still. I was going to IOP over at Chestnut Ridge, which is intense outpatient program. And I went to NA, and I was really working hard. And right after I got back, I was terrified, and I found out that I was pregnant. And that, I think everybody was scared for me. But my son, he's 4.5, and, I, to this day, dedicate my life to him because I truly believe, God listened to me, and He gave me something to, keep me clean. And at that moment, I knew, this is my life. I now have somebody to take care of, and, He completely changed my life. And, not everybody is like that, but for me, that completely changed my life, and, I will forever, dedicate everything to Him for that. And now, I'm married, and I have 2 kids, and, I'm doing all these things, and I'm helping other, addicts that are struggling. And, a few years ago, I would have never thought that I would be standing here today. So, it is possible to recover. And if you think you're cool because you're going and, drinking at parties and smoking weed and doing a film here and there, you're really not. You are much cooler if you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm better than that. And you leave, because I'm telling you, it's not worth it. It's really not. And that's all I have. Any questions?
How long of a process was that for you from start to finish, you think? From the time you started doing drugs to the time you actually woke up to dealing with it seriously?
I would say, it's like 7 years I lost. Like happiness and doing fun things, and I missed out on a lot. I was worried about drinking and getting high, and where am I going to get my money and all of that, whenever I could have been, out doing something with my friends. I was so young.
And you guys got questions for her?
This is my favorite thing ever. Because I truly believe that it takes a brave person to sit there and say, I have a problem and I need help. And then actually do the work to get there.
Here's a question.
Right,
I don't have a question, I have a comment. I've been actually offered tobacco and like snuff, and I refused.
I think that is amazing, because I think that it all, starts somewhere, and, everybody's gateway is different, and I think that is awesome that you refuse that, because, I'm sure a lot of people would have just taken it, in fear of like being made fun of or something like that. So the fact that, you stood up and you said no is really awesome.
Sometimes it's saying no with those things like that that builds you stronger and stronger. To say no against the bigger temptations of
Yeah.
it. It's got to start somewhere. Go back to the pictures. The first one. Okay, now that's Alexis then, when she was on drugs. Would you say that it robbed her of her life?
Yes.
Looks like she's dying in that picture, doesn't it?
She was.
Huh? That's a skeleton with skin on it. Yep, that's dying. Next, good. 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 Behind that smile of those pictures, you heard what she said. She wanted to know if she was going to get arrested or if she was going to die today. That was her thoughts the first thing in the morning. Probably how to get high. If I was going to die, or if I was going to get arrested.
Because there comes a point where you're not doing it because it's fun. You know, I wasn't doing it because it was fun. I did it because I needed to get out of bed and I needed to go to work. You know, I had a job. That's not what I did. But I needed it to literally get out of bed. It wasn't because, you know, my friends were going to a party and doing it. You know, it was because if I didn't have it, I was throwing up, shaking, and cold sweats, and a ball. You know, and withdrawal is absolutely terrible. It's like the flu times 5,000.
Anybody else have any questions for? Thank you, Alexis. I really appreciate your testimony. You know, for some of us, we start a pattern of drug abuse. We don't want to look bad. We want to have a good image, right? We want to make sure we let our friends know how tough we are, or whatnot, or that we want to be likable. No one wants to be disliked or anything like that. And it usually starts there. And your mind says, well, if I only do it once, I don't have to do it again. Sometimes that's all it takes. Anymore nowadays, here's the real story. I'm coming across more methamphetamine now than I am marijuana. And methamphetamine users are saying they're staying up for 4 or 5 days in a row. Day and night, staying up 4 or 5 days in a row. And when their body decides to crash, they sleep for 2 and 3 days straight. Get up and go to the bathroom. Probably about it. And this is coming from methamphetamine addicts. And we're seizing a lot of them out there today. It's opioids, methamphetamine, drug addiction all over the place. Why do people do drugs? They're not happy with themselves. Why are they not happy with themselves? Because they're basing their self-image off the wrong things. God sent His one and only Son to die for you. And He says you're precious. He says that you're worth sending His one and only Son for. And I need you to think about that tonight. I need you to think about how precious you are. Because don't let some guy, some girl, some drug define who you are. Acts 2:21 says this, and everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. It don't matter who you are, where you're from, where you live, how you live. If you call on the name of the Lord and you genuinely mean it in your heart, and you ask Him to come in your heart and be your Lord and Savior, ask Him to forgive you your sins, He will come in and help you right along the way. You'll be saved. Romans 10:13 says this, everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. What does earlier scripture say? The Acts 2:21. Yeah, practically the same thing. Practically the same thing. And this evening, what I want you to understand is that you're not alone. You're not alone. I don't want you to base your identity, your self-worth, or anything off of false things.
Most of the people you arrest are under age 20 or age 20.
They're all ages.
So they're all underage.
All ages. They're juveniles, they're young adults, they're mid-level adults, and they're seniors. And you heard Alexis, sometimes I've arrested doctors and lawyers, nurses, people with good careers. And the thing you got to understand, her addiction, well, she dabbled in the partying, but it really kicked off with the injury, the shoulder injury. She started taking OxyContin, it led from there.
What would you say you were arrested for? What would you say you were arrested for? You want 20 or above 20?
Under 20. So here's the thing. Tonight, I want you to make a decision. You got a card in front of you. And you don't have to put your name to it. I don't want you to put your name to it. But what I do want you to do is write down a prayer request. Let's start there. Let's write down, Dear Lord, please, whatever you put there, please Remember me, please help me in this area. Please help me in my faith. Listen, this is you and God. You don't have to write down what your neighbor puts down. You don't even have to look their direction. Just write down a prayer request and mean it from your heart. What is it? Use the hymnal books there if you need something hard to write on. Because really, the bottom line of it is, if you don't make a decision for Christ, if you don't start putting your faith in the right thing, and get away from these faith suckers, it means everything. It means eternity. And you've got to make a decision. As we talk tomorrow, we're going to talk about depression and suicide. And we're going to have another speaker that's dealt with that, has been around it, and is dealing with it. This ain't just some pastor up here talking to you about a warm and fuzzy gospel. This is real life. People that's been through this stuff. So you take a moment as the background music plays to write down your prayer requests. As we stand and close out with a couple of songs, think about eternity. Think about eternity. If you died right now, do you know you'd be in heaven with God? Or do you not know? Whatever the case may be, if you feel like you need to pray or you need somebody, just grab an adult near you and we'll pray with you. Or grab us afterwards and we'll talk with you about eternity. Whatever you want to do. But it's your decision. No one's going to force you to do anything. So as the song's playing, and before you leave, put your cards right there. Put your cards right there.